cricketers are a very busy lot. They have a hectic schedule playing in India and abroad. While we savor victories, losses and defeats can be very disappointing. And in England, we lost so badly in the test matches, it left a very bitter taste in the mouths of the fans of India. Today, on Turf Talk at TrinitiMirror.tv, we have veteran cricket commentator and writer Professor Sri Ravi Chathurvedi ji. Sir, welcome.
Thank you.
Sir, India lost the one-day series 1-2 and the test series 1-4. Though initially there was a lot of hope when they won the T20 2-1. But then we seem to have lost the plot somewhere. So what do you think went wrong, and was it the preparation, or where did everything go out of control for India?
You see, the longer format of the game, which I mean the test cricket, it requires the real test of your skill over the period of time. In a shorter version of the game, you can get away with a lot of things. And the basic flaw which has remained and which I have been advocating, I have been talking about it, right from the South African tour, the board mismanaged the whole tour. When I say board mismanaged the whole tour, I meant that you must have some friendly matches before you are thrown into the fire and the fury of the test cricket. And the lack of more first-class matches before the test matches proved India's undoing both in South Africa as well as in England. The answer is very simple, which I have already elaborated times and again. You are in a different zone. It's a different sleep zone. You are in a different climate. The body, the human body has got to be acclimatized. It has got to be tuned. There's a different wavelength to which they have got to be tuned. And this preparation is very necessary so that they are able to adapt themselves to the local conditions. I will add only one point to this. If you look at the old tours of any country, whether tour of England or the tour of Australia, there used to be, the tour starts in April, and before a test match there will be a match against MCC, which was a strong so-called representative England team, where they were trying, the youngsters, how will they come up in the testing conditions of the test cricket. And then only at the end of May you have a test match. Now you go and start playing a test match. Now this is not possible. Do you think at that time the boards which were there, they did not know this thing? Well, I thought they knew very well that your players need acclimatization and accommodation to the local conditions. Whereas the present day boards, they are more interested, please forgive me if I say this, they are only interested in making money rather than caring for the welfare of the cricketers and welfare of the game.
So in this context, unfortunately for India, Virat Kohli wanted to go and play in the county cricket, but an injury in IPL prevented him from going early. Do you think that in retrospect had a big effect on Indian team's performance?
Individual does not make a team. Cricket is a team game, and by and large, if you look at Virat Kohli's performance, I think Virat was more or less consistent. It was the failure on the part of the other batsmen. The openers could not give a good start to the Indian team. This put a lot of pressure on the middle order, on the upper half, and when the pressure came too much on the upper half, they also crumbled, and the reason was it was left to the tail-enders and the second half of the batting order to come up with a score, and they, in certain conditions, they did well. But the overall picture once again was the same. That is because they were not tuned to the local conditions, therefore they failed. In England, the strategy is very simple, that you play as far as possible close to your body. If you play away from your body, and if there is a late movement, that's where you will nudge the ball to the slips or to the wicketkeeper, and that proved to be our biggest fatal mistake.
And do you think here, again, because of this mix of shorter form and longer form, the players also sort of get confused and their technique goes awry there, because as you said, playing close to the body and away, because in shorter form, as you said, you can get away with doing anything. So is that one of the reasons too?
Yeah, excessive one-day cricket and excessive T20 is taking its own toll of the technique of the players. Because what matters in the shorter format of the game is getting a run by hook or crook. which does not pay in Test cricket. It's a very orthodox cricket where all sorts of ploys are used. You tempt a batsman. Once he succeeds, he clears the ground. Next time he there's a shot which he does not correct properly, and that's what the spinner has been trying all along. They tempt a batsman. Yes, you come out and hit, but this you cannot do in the one days. Now this is where a player gets confused also. What sort of strategy he should employ? Because in Test cricket the strategy is altogether different. The strategy in the limited over game is altogether different. And when you have crumbled up everything, the player himself gets confused and he does not know what to do. And that is the reason that India is having a poor record overseas.
And again, here we saw the bowlers did a very decent job. So if you look at the margins of losses, it was not big margins. Where close matches were which India could have won. But here again, that's been a problem with the Indian team. If one section does well, the other doesn't. So how do we gel? How do you sort of get the right combination?
Well, I think you have a very important point there. You see, if you look at it, the first test in England, India could have won. But at the winning point, I mean, that is the stage when you touch the tape, as so-called in athletics. That is where we fell short. And once again, the redeeming part of the England tour was that our bowlers delivered. Hats off to our fast bowlers. They always came up and they restricted the English batting. In fact, England selectors, they were having, they had a hard time. That they were criticized for this selection policies. They criticized that the batting was very brittle, which was very much exposed. But again, with putting them on the back foot, it is their tail which wagged and added to the total. It is at that stage, somewhere the strategy went wrong, somewhere the selection went wrong, and we allowed the England to get away when they were in a firm grip, when they were in a firm grip of the Indian bowlers.
So now, we have seen so many matches happening. Somehow India doesn't seem to have a kind of a fixed team lineup. We are mixing up, different players are coming through. So what are your thoughts and comments on that?
Well, I only stand for one thing, that there should not be too frequent changing and chopping. This tells on the morale of a player. He's not sure of his place. There are players whose credentials are established, and I will take the example of only two players. That's primarily because of the batting point of view where we failed. After Virat, the two batsmen on whom we depend, and technically everybody says they are the best batsmen, they are Cheteshwar Pujara and Ajit Rihane. Now we were changing and chopping them also. So imagine when your best batsmen are not sure whether they will be in the team or not, they will be on the sidelines. This tells on their morale. The confidence level goes down. Their self-examination starts. Where am I wrong? Now this is a very wrong tactics. You have players, they are horses for the courses. And Ajit Rihane and Cheteshwar Pujara, they are the ideal material for Test cricket. And we were also playing with them. I mean, they were side. I do not agree with whatever the experts or the director of the team or the coach of the team says that we were experimenting. No, you don't experiment overseas. You experiment at home. And it is this changing and chopping which also had an effect, ultimate effect of defeats overseas.
See, it's an observation, so you can correct me. Like normally you've seen, captains do play a big role on the field. And of late you've seen in the Indian, when a bowler gets whacked, the captain seems to be disappointed but doesn't go and seem to talk to the bowler and try to sort of console him or tell him what to do. So you think that somewhere strategically we are going wrong?
Look, you have a very important point. My co-commentator and friend Ravi Chathurvedi, who is considered to be one of the very ideal captains and who was the one who brought attack into the Indian cricket. Otherwise, the Indian cricket was defensive. He believed that when you are a Test cricketer, you are mature enough to play Test cricket and you do not need much guidance. I beg to differ there. Psychologically, if you look at the Indian psyche, and if I may use the word, the Indian mothers biologically deliver a child, but emotionally they never deliver them. They always keep an hand, no, they have to guide them for their life. Look, we have put these youngsters, Chahal and Yadav, into international cricket in the firing line. At times they need it. a soothing word from you when they are being hit. No, no, don't try. The fellow next time will fail. That is where the captain has to every time go and talk to his bowler. If he gets a wicket, it's good, everybody congratulates him. But when he's hit, somebody should go and console him. No, don't matter. You bowled a good ball, because in shorter format of the game, good balls are hit. It is only the bad balls at times get you a wicket. But that is where the role of the captain comes, that he has to go, and that psychological pressure which is exerted by the batsman and the bowler, it is off, and so that he is fresh. He knew with the new tactics, or he can guide him, no, try this thing. There is a plan B which you can try. So that's where the guidance is needed.
So in South Africa, we seem to have discovered a very nice wrist spinning pair of Kuldeep Yadav and Chahal. But again, in England, we didn't use them as a combination. So why? What is the wrong? What is the reason for this?
We made a big mistake, rather I will say it was a blunder in the first test selection of the team itself, because the conditions were not ideal for a spinner. That is where we should have gone with an extra pacer rather than having a wrist spinner. And since the conditions were not conducive for the spinners, it was an odd situation on which a spinner has to bowl, and with the result he was whacked all over, and which had a telling effect on his own confidence. So this also becomes very important. At what stage, these are young, two wrist spinners that we have, they are very young kids. We have to nurture them, and that is the team has to do. Last but not the least, let's not forget, today's international cricket is a very different ball game. There are video analysis, there are other things. So you come to know the tricks of the trade of a bowler very easily by looking at the video. Therefore, exposing them too much here and there at times could be, deficient for the Indian cricket. So you have to use them very intelligently. When I said about this, that because of the video analysis we could analyze what was the mystery in his bowling, I would like to cite an example. In 1950s, Sunny Ramadane and Al Valentine, they created a web. Imagine what a great batting side of England and Horton, where Peter May, Colin Cowdrey, such a Tom Graveney. So they could not unravel the mystery of Sunny Ramadane. There were various reasons, because he bowled with a buttoned sleeve shirt. Other thing, he was bowled with a cap. So the deception was there which could not be seen by the batsman, because you read the arm of a bowler whether he is twisting this way or this way. It took them 7 years to unravel that mystery. 57 when they went, both Cowdrey and Peter May, they used the pads very effectively against him, and Samir Ramadane became a redundant person. But here, because the video analysis is available, so you are able to unravel the mystery of a bowler very easily. It happened with Mendes of Sri Lanka. It took only one series for Indian to unravel what he was all, that weapon, the extra weapon, or that trump card which he had. We were able to unravel.
So in fact, in the England selectors too, faced flack for recalling that leg spinner Adil Rashid, because he had signed for one-day cricket, but he was called for a test cricket. So what are your comments on that?
I thought that is an alarm button, push button used by the England selectors. And because they were not very sure, they were very much aware of the brittle batting lineup, then they thought, why not strengthen the bowling? So they had two good seamers, which they bowled very well, and they put England in a very commanding position. That is James Anderson and Stuart Broad. But it is not that Adil Rashid's selection was criticized. There is no doubt about it, because of technical reasons. But Adil Rashid also proved his point. At times he did bowl very well, and he put pressure. Maybe the Indians thought that they could hit a leg spinner easily. Maybe that's where they were caught on the wrong foot. But still, but then you see, on a point, if we put down a pin down selection committee, that also is not very fair. Sometimes they have to take a decision which is out of the box, which at times works, sometimes it doesn't work. Cricket is a very complicated game, where the strategy, planning, this and that, it goes along with. So it is always, as it is said, if you win, you are on top, if you lose, you are dumped. So because they won, so somehow that situation, that issue was not blown out of the proportion.
So again, sir, if there's one thing that you think that could have made the difference from between India winning and losing, what do you think that should have been?
I think that there's only one point in that. That is, our openers failed. I mean, we not only they failed, they had no clue how to negotiate Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad. And in fact, when Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad put pressure on the top Indian batting because of the failure of the openers, the other medium pacers came up. They made a debut. Jim Curran made a debut. And he also was able to get a breakthrough because he was a raw material at them. He was just a youngster who has made a debut in Test cricket, but he moved very effectively because he exploited the conditions very well. So this put a lot of pressure on Indian batting. The failure of Indian team was because of the failure of our batsmen. We only needed a good score, and any good score would have put a pressure on England, which we were not able to apply. If you go back to the predictions of the pre-test match series, England selectors, England media was on the defensive that we are going to have a hard time, and especially when India won the T20 series, they thought it is going to be a tough series, which unfortunately didn't happen.
But again, talking about openers, there is again this movement between three players. We have Dhawan, we have Rahul, and we have Murli Vijay. So even they, because they did not perform, they dropped. And again, there's some kind of, does it affect the morale, and how does it, does it affect the entire team?
You see, Murli Vijay has been a very consistent performer over the years. Same is true, but Rahul is a different type of player. He takes the attack by the scruff of the neck. He wants to play strokes right from the beginning. Murli Vijay, I thought his reflexes became slow, and because of the quick movement of the ball, he was not able to negotiate, and that was the reason he failed. When he failed, then they brought in Shikhar Dhawan. Shikhar Dhawan, unfortunately, doesn't have that very sound technique. He's a very good one-day batsman because you can get away with a lot of things. But for an opener to have good technique, a perfect technique for an opener, they are very much tested in a test cricket, which unfortunately Shikhar Dhawan doesn't have, and that's where he failed. And once he failed, then India was looking for here and there how to manage the whole thing. And the problem was compounded when Rahul also failed. This put extra pressure on the Indian batting, and when you open up your opening slots wide open, I mean in the initial 2-3 overs, the pressure is enormous on you, whether you can take it or not. So, and that's what proved to be wrong. But again, I will come back to the point. This changing and chopping had a very demoralizing effect on particularly Pujara and Rahane. Let's stick to them, give them a long rope, even if they fail, because technically they are the perfect batsmen.
So, but at the end of the tour, the Indian team director Ravi Chathurvedi said we should not press the panic button, and we have lessons have been learnt. So, how many overseas tours do we need to learn lessons?
That's a very good question. Yeah, I agree with what you said. That is the bare truth. But let me tell you one thing. There's another part of the statement which Ravi Chathurvedi made. This is the best overseas touring team. You see, for a coach or for anybody to at times declare that we are the best team does not go well with the spirit of the game. Because when you are playing at a time, you do not know what is the time when you are playing the opponents, the conditions in which you are playing. So you cannot compare your team with the past teams of India or for that purpose any other team. If you look at the pre-independence days of cricket, let's not forget one thing, the psychological pressure on the players, because we were not independent country. Today, Sunil Gavaskar, Sachin Tendulkar can walk into Lords with a head high, whereas at that time, the players who went to play in England, because England, they were our rulers, there was a psychological pressure. Imagine Mohammad Nisar and Amar Singh, what a vital combination, lethal combination it was. But they could not use intimidatory tactics because if I may be allowed to say that if suppose an English batsman was hurt, they might be fearing that we may be thrown in the English Channel. So that psychological pressure, unfortunately, today is not on the Indian players. When they go overseas, they are confident of themselves. India is today a confident country, and same confidence is also manifested in the behavior pattern of our players. And mind you, it is not only in cricket. You look at the other games. Athletics, which was a neglected lot, look at your athletes. Now they are coming up. And the special feature there is, it is not only the men, it is the girls and the women who are performing very well at the international level. This is a very redeeming feature as far as the Indian sports are concerned.
Sir, now we are talking about the main players, Sateshwar Pujara, Rahane, but there are also we seem to have these kinds of bits and pieces players like Dinesh Karthik, whether he's a wicketkeeper or a batsman, and they have Jadeja, is he an all-rounder, is he a batsman and a spinner? So how do they fit and why is it we are getting them? They're also in and out of these teams.
Mr. Amraj, if you look back at the composition of the Indian teams, these bits and pieces policies have been in operation from times immemorial. What we need is a very simple cricket thinking that you have 5 batsmen, then you have a wicket keeper. If you have a wicket keeper batsman, then is a plus point. Then you have 2 fast bowlers and 2 spinners. Then depending on the condition, you can change later on, maybe you have an all-round. The biggest today drawback of the Indian cricket is that we don't have a genuine all-rounder of the class of Kapil Dev. This is the one area where India has not been able to find a place. This vacuum remains still. We at times feel no, Ravichandran Ashwin has filled the slot, or at times we feel no, Jadeja has filled the slot. No, they have not been able to fill it. That Kapil Dev slot remains vacant, and that is a very big drawback as far as Indian cricket is concerned. As you very rightly said, at times we ourselves are in a fix to find out what a player is, whether he's an all-rounder, whether he's a bowler, whether he's a batsman, because they have not come up to a level of expectation. So that is where we are on the back foot.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your thoughts on India and England. We have more to talk on the present West Indies tour and upcoming Australian tour, and we'll talk about it in other episodes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.